you ever wondered what it would be like to wake up in a world where existence itself is a sentence of pain? Imagine opening your eyes and realizing that you're no longer on Earth. Around him, a sky torn by violent lightning. The ground pulsates as if it were alive, covered in cracks that exude toxic gases. The air vibrates with a pressure that threatens to burst your lungs, even inside the suit. And every second that passes is a silent battle against the death. This is not a cheap fiction scenario. It is a speculative simulation based on real data about one of the most intriguing and dangerous exoplanets ever identified, GLIESE the next case. Located approximately 40 light years from Earth, this world orbits a cool red dwarf star, and despite its size relatively close to Earth's, it holds mysteries that could challenge even the most advanced technologies of space exploration. We don't know everything, but we know enough to give you chills. Here, the atmosphere can be dense enough to crush bones. Gravity, unlike what we know, can make blood flow where it shouldn't. And the heat, well, if the simulations are correct, the surface can reach temperatures that would cook human flesh in minutes. But imagine, just imagine, you wake up there, alone. No communication, no guidance, not knowing if anyone else is alive. And then you realize the planet doesn't just want to kill you, he wants to break you. You hear something moving outside the capsule. It could be the wind, it could be, something else. And every moment you feel your sanity crumble like stardust being sucked into a black hole. Now I ask you, in all sincerity, do you think you could survive on a completely hostile planet like this? Comment below. What would you do first if you woke up trapped in GLIESE 12b? Your answer could inspire a sequel to this video, or even an interactive simulation. I want to know your video, but before continuing, I need to tell you something important. This video can be removed at any time. In the end, not everyone is ready to face this kind of speculative truth about the universe. Then leave a like now before you forget. Subscribe to the channel. Why this might be your only chance to find out what's going on in GLIESE 12b and what this could mean for the future of humanity. Now, hold on tight, cause what's next, it could forever change your view of life beyond Earth. Are you ready to enter the atmosphere of this planet? So take a deep breath. If there's still air to breathe, you wake up to a muffled and irregular sound. A metallic hum vibrates inside his helmet while the red emergency light blinks rhythmlessly inside the shattered capsule. There is smoke, very hot, and that smells something between melting plastic and burning ozone. The impact of the crash caused most systems to collapse. The suit's internal visor still works, but is covered in hairline cracks. Your heartbeat is being monitored, and the data shows what you already feel. Your heart rate is very high, your breathing is out of control, and your oxygen levels critical. You are on GLIESE 12b, an exoplanet located approximately 40 light years from Earth. Part of an experimental interplanetary exploration mission, you traveled with a highly trained team with the aim of studying the atmospheric and geological characteristics of this world. At first, everything followed protocols. The landing was scheduled. The capsule was one of the strongest ever built. But something went wrong, very wrong. During entry into the atmosphere, dense, heavy, and loaded with chemical elements that we still can't even name precisely, the heat shield partially failed. A minimal orbital deviation of just 3 degrees was enough to change the entire course of the descent. Atmospheric turbulence, composed of layers of electrical storms and unstable gravitational fronts, caused the spacecraft to break into pieces upon re-entry. You don't remember the impact, but you feel its consequences in every fiber of your body. Pain, dizziness, and the overwhelming feeling that you are alone. All around you, the landscape is alien and hostile. The sky is a dark red color, almost like clotted blood, interspersed with continuous flashes of lightning that don't seem to follow any predictable pattern. The soil is dark, brittle, formed by volcanic rocks covered by a layer of shiny dust, reminiscent of decomposing crystals. And between the cracks in the ground, pulsating lava bubbles, releasing vapors that dance in the air like toxic specters. The ambient temperature exceeds 400 degrees Celsius. However, the survival pod maintains a temporary bubble of thermal containment. You're protected for now. But the systems are failing. The communication display only emits static, no response from base, no signs of life, no team presence, no sound other than your own heart beating against your chest bones as if it wanted to get away from there before you. And then comes the thought that cuts through your mind like a blade. How long can I last here? The time. Such an abstract concept, but so cruel on this planet. The days on GLIESE 12, they do not follow the same pattern as on Earth. The planet rotates slowly, completing its rotation in about 3 Earth weeks. This means that the side exposed to the sun suffers from continuous radiation, while the other plunges into a cold so intense that it would freeze the oxygen in a matter of hours. And you? It's right in the transition zone, the unstable threshold between fire and ice. The capsule fell into a valley where these two realities meet. And although you are temporarily alive, there is no guarantee that it will remain so. Every minute in that place seems to drag on for centuries. Gravity, slightly more intense than Earth's, presses against your muscles, as if the entire planet is trying to crush you from the inside out. Slowly, your eyes scan the inside of the capsule. Everything is damaged. The water is contaminated with a viscous substance that escapes through one of the gaps. The dehydrated food was charred by the heat wave when it fell. And oxygen, well, you know the supply is limited. The atmospheric regeneration system has been compromised. You have at most a few hours, but something outside the capsule catches his attention. One movement, fast, subtle, as if something or someone was watching from afar. You lock your gaze in the direction of the figure. Nothing, just the dancing rocks and vapors moving in the wind. But instinct, that old human instinct that precedes logic and that has saved countless generations, it screams, you are not alone. Could it be a native life form, an illusion caused by excess carbon dioxide in the environment, or something that fell on you? The mind starts to project scenarios, and you try to remember the mission files. There were inconclusive reports of unexplained thermal variations, anomalous geomagnetic patterns. There were even rumors unconfirmed that unusual transmissions were picked up in the vicinity of GLIESE 12b, transmissions with pulse repetitions and variations that resembled signals of intelligent origin. But this data was scanned to the most sensitive levels. Most of the crew never had full access. And now, you are here, alone, exposed. The temperature inside the capsule begins to rise. One of the systems collapses and you hear the subtle overheating alarm. The suit starts to pay off, but resources are limited. You need to decide. Stay inside, waiting for something or someone to come and rescue you, even though that something can be much worse than being alone, or go out and face what's out there. Outside, you see a trail of smoke in a distance. It looks like the trail of another capsule, perhaps one of your companions, or a fragment of the main spacecraft. There may be supplies, or clues, or more questions. Your mind races, spiraling thoughts. What if the mission wasn't just scientific? What if there was a hidden purpose behind choosing this planet? Why send an entire team to a location we barely know, where even unmanned probes have failed to return consistent data? Would it be possible that someone already knew what GLIESE 12b really holds? Questions gather like cosmic dust over the mysteries of the universe. And while you try to remain calm, the emergency system projects a cruel estimate onto the internal display, 180 minutes of autonomy remaining. Time, always it. As the heat threatens to break through the suit's barriers and the silence outside becomes increasingly deafening, you notice something you hadn't noticed before. A slight hum, regular, vibrant, like a beat, but not yours. Something pulses beneath the ground, as if the planet were alive. Is it just a seismic anomaly? Or is there a structure down there, a training? Or maybe something that shouldn't be sleeping? Either way, you know you won't be able to stay there for long. And whatever is lurking beneath the surface of GLIESE 12b is beginning to show signs that it's waking up. Comment below. Would you stay or leave? Or comment just one word, awakening. That way, I'll know you're ready to continue this journey, wherever it takes us, because what comes next will challenge everything you believe about safety, survival, and the true secrets of the universe. You take a deep breath, and the sound of the air passing through the suit tube seems louder than it should be. It's getting harder to stay focused. The head is heavy, sweat runs down your temples and collects in the corners of your visor. But it's not just the heat. That's what he carries. The atmosphere at GLIESE 12b is a toxic cocktail. A dense mixture of carbon dioxide, sulfuric acid, and other corrosive substances that, if not for the suit, would have already corroded his airways in a matter of seconds. And you feel even protected, as if every molecule of air is watching you, analyzing you, deciding whether it's worth killing you now or playing some more. The ground beneath your feet vibrates, not like an earthquake, but like something alive, pulsating. There's a constant low rhythmic sound that resonates through the soles of the boots, as if the planet had a heart that beats in the depths. Your every step is accompanied by this almost imperceptible but impossible to ignore echo. The temperature exceeds 450 degrees Celsius. The heat is so intense that, according to calculations from previous missions, 4 minutes of direct exposure would be enough for the blood vessels in the skin to explode like small volcanoes. And that's if the suit didn't fail first. The sensation is suffocating, even with the cooling system working at overload. You've already lost 2 pounds in sweat, and it hasn't even been an hour since he left the space capsule. But heat isn't the only enemy here. Atmospheric pressure is 80 times greater than that on Earth. This means that if the visor were to rupture, your eyeballs would be compressed like crushed grapes. The skull cavities, unable to support the weight of the atmosphere, would collapse, and the blood, his blood, would start to boil even before he lost consciousness. A quick end, but still brutal. You keep walking. The ground is cracked, unstable. There are gas bubbles that explode underfoot, sending out iridescent vapors that smell like sulfur and something else. Something you can't identify. A sweet, sickly, almost metallic aroma, like the smell of an operating room forgotten in time. And then again, that sound, a dry noise like a crack. Come under. From inside, as if the planet's crust itself was trying to whisper something, but not in words, in intentions. You stop for a moment. The suit sensors detect an increase in radiation, a sudden spike, a pulse. The theory was just speculation, until now constant bursts of electromagnetic radiation originating from the core of GLIESE 12b, some similar to solar flares, but with a frequency and intensity incompatible with any other known form of planetary activity. Some astrophysicists have suggested that the planet could be orbiting a chaotic magnetic field, or perhaps that there is something inside interfering with natural laws. And here before you, one of these eruptions has just happened. The sky for brief seconds lit up in a violet blue tone, a silent flash, but it made the systems blink in alert. The suit filters out much of the radiation, but not all of it. If you survive, the effects on your DNA may appear later, or maybe they won't show up, because maybe they won't be later. You continue, now between columns of rock that rise like the teeth of a buried titan. The wind changed. It's denser, heavy. It carries a vibration, a frequency that your ears don't pick up, but that your brain recognizes as a threat. And then you see, on the heat-distorted horizon, a structure, a natural, rectangular, symmetrical, partially buried in the rock. It could just be an illusion. It could be junk from a previous mission. But it feels artificial. You approach cautiously. Each step is a fight against the body, against fear, against one's own sanity. But it gets there. The structure is made of an unknown material. It's not metal. It's not stone. It seems like something in between. The surface vibrates. It is warm to the touch, even without being exposed directly to the sun. And the most disturbing thing, there are symbols on it. Lines, brands, as a type of writing that follows no known earthly pattern. You feel dizzy, a sharp headache. The display darkens briefly, all systems blink as if in panic. And then, silence. The sensors turn off for 40 seconds. And when they return, one detail has changed. The room temperature dropped just 2 degrees, but it fell. You pull away, panting, and for the first time since waking up, he feels imminent collapse. The psychological, the invisible, the mind begins to give way. Reason tries to fight against what the eyes see, but the senses don't lie. This place doesn't play by the rules. This planet isn't just trying to kill you, he's trying to understand you and maybe transform you. You start thinking about everything you heard before the mission. The rumors, the hypotheses that GLIESE 12b could hide underground life forms. Not living beings as we know them, but self-conscious organic structures. Microlife adapted to pressure, heat, radiation. A silicon-based biology, perhaps. Or something even more exotic. Systems that not only evolved to survive, but to observe, to interact with intruders. If true, this changes everything we know about biogenesis. And if it's just delusion, still, the effect is real. You feel the psychological breakdown coming in waves. Visual hallucinations, echoes that have no origin, words that are not spoken but appear in the mind, images of structures that don't exist. You know what it is, alien exposure syndrome, a psychological phenomenon theorized for astronauts in prolonged contact with extreme extraterrestrial environments. But it had never been confirmed. Until now, or maybe that's exactly what they wanted you to think. And as you try to control your breathing, you notice a small movement on the surface of the rock near the structure. It's not wind, it's not gas, it's something that moves with purpose very fast and disappears. The pulse frequency increases. Now, the planet pulses along with your mind, as if the two were trying to align themselves, as if whatever's down there is waking up and listening to you. Comment below. Do you believe this planet is really alive? Or type the phrase, "I heard the pulse." This will tell me that you are ready to continue. Because the next step, it won't be about where you are anymore. It will be about what is watching you. You are on your knees. The left leg starts to tingle. The shoulder muscles no longer respond as they should. The heat penetrates each layer of the suit, overcoming the cooling systems. Audible alarms repeat in an almost hypnotic loop, warning of failures in thermal sensors, drop in internal pressure, and overload in oxygen filters. Its once transparent display now displays distorted patches of condensation. Communication remains silent. Not a hiss, not a noise, nothing. And worst of all, that pulse is still there, constant, firm, growing up, vibrating inside your head like a whisper of something that's about to reveal itself. You return to what was left of the space capsule. The return journey was slow and dangerous. Each step gave the impression that the ground could open up at any moment. The structure you found is still there, in your mind, inexplicable. The feeling that something or someone is beneath that surface remains present. You are alone, but don't feel alone. Now standing in front of the space capsule entrance, the dilemma appears like a blade in the dark. Two options, as clear as they are cruel. You can stay, waiting for the emergency system to somehow restore itself, betting that the radiation will not completely corrupt the circuits. May someone somewhere detect your signs and send help. A spacecraft, a drone, a sign that you're still part of something bigger. But this option comes with a cost. Staying means waiting, and waiting here is just a slow way to die. The space capsule is failing. The air is no longer pure. The energy is at its lowest levels. The internal temperature rises every minute like a furnace about to reach melting point. Supplies were reduced to nothing, and alarms are now no longer just alerts. They are fired. A silent countdown. Or you can leave, go back outside, face the unknown, walking towards that structure that now strangely seems to have called you. You can investigate, you can try to find another space capsule, maybe some secondary compartment with resources, or maybe even another survivor. But leaving comes with its own horrors. The atmosphere outside is increasingly unstable. The suit shield has micro cracks. The last reading indicated acidic moisture accumulating in the external filters. And if that moisture penetrates, it's the end. An agonizing end, not instantaneous. What if you're not alone? If what you saw among the vapors was not imagination? What if there is something adapted, invisible, inhuman, watching you, waiting for you to let your guard down? Something that doesn't understand you as a living being, but as an intruder, an invader, a threat. And the most disturbing thing, what if this something is not native? What if he too came from somewhere else? From another system, from another mission, or from another time? You recall restricted files mentioning anomalies captured in old transmissions. Radio waves that repeated in patterns incompatible with any known terrestrial language. There were mentions of shifted heat spectrums, light refracted anomalously around the surface, and images few, blurry and always classified of symmetrical geometric structures appearing briefly on the edges of the planet before disappearing like cosmic mirages. What you found earlier might not have been the first, and maybe, just maybe, you awakened something that didn't want to be found. But the suit is tight, the air is thick, your lungs burn with each breath. The space capsule is now closer to a sarcophagus than a shelter. You need to decide. You get up, unstable, legs shake. The display shows predicted total collapse in 57 minutes. Less than an hour until complete system failure. You look at the space capsule door, then to the crevice through which it came out previously. Outside, the sky changed. Now, a dark green aurora snakes above the clouds, as if the planet's ionosphere is in upheaval. You don't know what it means, but you know what you feel. Fear, and yet something beyond fear. A painful curiosity, an attraction impossible to explain, as if he was being called. You take what's left of the supplies, an emergency space capsule, a neurological stabilization injector, and a manual atmospheric density sensor. None of them were made for this type of environment, but they're all you have. You walk to the door, place your hand on the lock, close your eyes. The sound of the planet penetrates the suit. The pulse, now it's not just in your head anymore, it comes from everywhere, from the sky, from the floor, from the atmosphere, as if the world itself had a communication system, a code. And you, without knowing it, had tuned to the right frequency. Or wrong. You need to leave. There is no choice anymore. You know the world outside can kill you, but staying here as a would-be, accepting that there's nothing left. That the mission failed. That you are nothing but a statistic. And human beings, when faced with the end, do not cling to logic. He clings to hope. Even if it comes disguised as madness. You push the lock. The air escapes with a hiss. The door opens, the heat hits you like a punch, but you resist. One step, two, and the floor gives way slightly under your weight. The same soil, the same stones, but now you're not the same anymore. You look around, the sky, the earth, the pulse, everything looks different, as if I'd crossed the threshold, as if the planet was waiting for this moment. And you feel in every cell of your body that you're encountering something that will change everything. Because now, you're on his territory. And he knows it. Comment below. If it were you, would you leave or just right eye cross the door? I want to know who is truly ready to take the next step with me. Because from here, the rules will start to change. You cross the space capsule door as if crossing the veil from a known reality to something that completely escapes human logic. Outside, the heat intensifies, but now it seems to pulse differently. It's not just a thermal sensation, it's as if the environment itself is trying to communicate. Each layer of air vibrates, not at random frequencies, but rather in a pattern that escapes immediate understanding. An almost clever pattern. You advance slowly. The suit sensors are overloaded, and the data no longer makes sense. Atmospheric pressure fluctuates, even without apparent changes in the terrain. The composition of the air is constantly changing, as if the planet were alive and constantly adapting. The light changes tone. The sky, once red and violent, now takes on colors you've never seen before. Tones that defy human perception, as if they were between the visible and the invisible. As if they were emitted by something that exists in more than one dimension at the same time. The structure you saw earlier is closer now. You move towards it as if drawn, guided by an invisible force. And then, out of nowhere, a wind appears. Not like the winds we know on Earth, but something denser, heavier, charged with static energy. Every thread on his suit crackles with the electricity in the air. And on the horizon, something moves. You stop. The figure is small at first, a figure, but it stands out clearly against the alien landscape. There is no mistaking it for a rock formation or an optical illusion caused by heat. It's something or someone walking or floating or moving in a way that doesn't obey the laws you know. You try to enlarge the viewfinder, but the visual systems collapse. The image distorts, the pixels dance, forming patterns that repeat in a spiral. Unknown symbols start to appear on the screen. The system is translating something or it is being invaded. You feel a chill, a paradox since the environment is scorching hot. but the feeling is real and cold, as if something were passing through you, scanning, mapping, searching your thoughts. The figure continues to approach, but now you realize that she doesn't walk. It does not move through space. It seems to emerge, as if it were being revealed layer by layer in phases, like an image rendered by an alien system. The shape is humanoid, but not human. Average height, thin ends, movement too fluid to be natural. There is no face. There are no eyes, but there is presence. Your body freezes, not by choice, but for something that affects him deeply. Something that messes with your most primitive senses. The survival instinct screams, but the muscles don't respond. You try to scream, but the sound doesn't come out. And then out of nowhere, the figure disappears, as if it had never been there. The display returns, systems restart, and the structure is now at your side. How is this possible? You didn't move, didn't travel far, but she is there, huge, alive, palpitating, like an organ, a pulsating monolith. The surface vibrates like skin under tension, and then it opens. A portal, a threshold, a passage. The light that escapes from inside is not ordinary light. It curves the space around, the ground shakes slightly, the colors around you shuffle. You try to move away, but something holds. Not physically, but with thought, as if your mind is being pulled, manipulated, led. You hear sounds, but not with your ears. Sounds that form directly in consciousness. Words in a language you never learned but understand. Words that reveal truths that were dormant in some forgotten corner of your DNA. You see images, galaxies collapsing, stars being devoured by black eyes, gigantic beings that shape planets with their hands. Entire civilizations kneel before shapes that seem to have been carved from the void itself. And then, a revelation. You didn't fall into GLIESE 12b by chance. You were taken. The mission was just the surface, a distraction, a convenient narrative to justify the trip. But deep down, there was always someone or something driving everything, from orbit calculations to the exact moment your heat shield failed. Nothing was an accident. It was all part of an experiment, and you are the test subject. The structure pulses once again. The portal grows. A deafening sound begins to emerge, coming from all sides. There is no direction. There is no origin. Just a cosmic roar that speaks directly to your being. You kneel. The mind begins to crack, and then silence. In the sky, a point appears, small at first, but growing. It could be a spacecraft, a rescue, or something worse. The transmission you thought was lost activates itself. A radio signal begins to emit a code, but you recognize the sequence. It's not from Earth. It's the same pattern that appeared in old broadcasts, those supposedly deleted. You see the screen flash. A symbol appears, the same as you saw in the structure. Now you know. The planet was not the problem. It never was. GLIESE 12b is just the entrance door. The real enigma or threat is on the other side, and you just unlocked it. Comment below. Do you think this figure was a rescue or a warning, or simply write I saw the door open? Because what comes now will mess with your mind in ways you may not be prepared to understand. If this was already too intense for your mind, imagine what is yet to come. Because this was just the surface of the mystery. If you felt that chill down your spine, if your imagination went too far, it's a sign that you're one of the few prepared to move forward on this cosmic journey. So leave a like now, because this helps us continue to reveal secrets that many still prefer to hide in the shadows of space. And subscribe to the channel, because only those who are here will receive the next signals. And you can bet they are coming. The next video is already appearing on your screen, but only the bravest will click. Are you one of them? So, the truth remains on the other side.